Namaste everyone, Anuj Habda here. All of us, we are very fond of gardening, but one part of the gardening is water gardening. So many of us, we really want to do water gardening in our terraces or balconies, but a few things are there which restricts us, or the fear is there whether to have them in our terrace or not. Basically the fear is whether there will be too much of mosquitoes, or how to repot, what fertilizing to be given, or how do they multiply, where to buy the seeds and all. So all such things are there which restricts us to go ahead with the water plants. Today we are going to learn how to grow water plants in our terraces, why it is necessary, and what all we can do with all these things. Though they are not edible, but they have a very important role in the terrace gardening if we are especially opting for vegetable gardening. Okay. So if we talk about the ornamental aspect, the aesthetic part of it, so in that case we can just have any small container filled with water, and then these kind of water plants, these are known as water lettuce. You can just see the roots, how big the roots are. So they keep growing like this, and once they grow, they multiply. You see, suppose in this it was 1 year, and after few days one more pup comes. Once this pup gets matured, automatically they get separated and this becomes one plant. So if you really want only for the aesthetic part or to keep inside your living room or somewhere, then this kind of a glass bowl is more than enough. And as you can see, the root is really too long compared to the pot, so we can just trim the root a bit and then you can put it here. So within still little more you can cut it. Yeah, after some time you will see it will start floating. This is the easiest way to have water plants in our house, but only problem is if you want really only the water and the water plants, so every 2 to 3 days there is a need to change the water. In that case we have to take out the plants, you change the water and then refill it with the fresh water. So every 2 to 3 days if you don't do this, then algae formations will be there and mosquitoes will start breeding. So that is one problem. Now one more option is, if you really fond of water plants to have in your terrace, so we can have a ecosystem, you can say we can create an ecosystem in which there is no necessity of changing the water every now and then, and the medium what we are going to use is not only the water, but with the water little soil also will be keeping. So what happens, will create such an atmosphere where every second to, you can say 2 to 3 days, no need to change the water. The plants and the other things, they'll create their own ecosystem so nice way. So we'll be just happy to see how they are growing. So the first thing what we have to take is, if you want only the floating plants like this water lettuce, this is azolla, this looks like a carpet. If these kind of a water plants only you want to opt, then this much 6 inches depth of the pot is sufficient, even little lesser than that is also okay. But if you want plants like your horsetail, water papyrus, lilies, elephant ear, or your water sword, if all these plants you need, they are the plants which have a quite long stem and they have to be planted in the soil, and for that reason we have to have a depth of the container little bigger, minimum 20 inches it should be there if you really want to opt for lilies, and lotus if you want it should be 20 plus. The deeper the container, the more flowering, the more blooms will be there. So now we'll see what all soil mix we need to have a water plant. Now in this, 3 things I have taken. This is clay, generally the clay what is used by our you can say potters to make pot, all the pots and all whatever they make. So that is clay, because all the water plants generally when we see in our lakes and all ponds, it's little clay. So if you add little clay soil, clay in the potting mix, they thrive really well. In case you can't source it, you can avoid this, but if possible try adding, if not too much, at least little of it. This is normal red soil with little vermicompost I have added, and this is composted cow dung. Okay, so these three things we have to take. If any twigs and all are there, you can remove it. Now what happens, once we have to make sure this, it will take some time to get dissolved in water, because this is little on a harder side. Once we'll fill the water, it will become soft gradually. So we have to make sure whatever the container we are taking, 1/3 of the container should be filled with the potting mix, whatever we have taken. So now we have to fill this with the water. Okay, whatever the container size is there, till that much we have to fill the water. Now suppose we are going for a plant which is as I told you, which has longer roots. So those kind of a plants like your water papyrus and all, then we have to put them in the soil so that they stay there. We have to just press it little. These floating plants can go directly. If you feel that the roots are really bigger, you can trim them. Okay. Now what happens when we put this water in the soil, and it has to be filled till the brim of the pot. Now what happens when we put water in the pot, this whole water becomes dirty, or it looks little muddy. So what we have to do is, we have to wait for another 2 days till the water becomes crystal clear like this. So in this, though the soil is not there, but after 2 days if you see, the clear water comes up, and the soil and mud, whatever the clay it was there, it will get settled down. So the water looks pretty clear. Now this is the time when we have to add small fish to the pot. Now which kind of a fishes do we have to add? Mollies, guppies, those fishes are the best for these kind of water garden, whatever we are creating. They are very tiny, smaller ones, and make sure whenever you are putting those, it has to be in the pair of male and female. Okay, so gradually they'll multiply, and when you see the number of fishes are more, you can shift them to the different pots, or you can still plan for more water containers. Now what is the role of fish to be added in the water plants? Now what happens, as I told you, if we don't change the water and the water is stagnant, there is always a possibility of growing algae and mosquito breedings. Okay, so what happens when we add fish to this pond, these fishes love to eat algae, and because of their movement there won't be any stagnation in the water, and the mosquitoes will not breed. Okay, so our water will be clear. At the same time, the plants, whatever we have put the plants in the container, they really need a good amount of nitrogen to grow. Now from where the nitrogen comes to the potting mix, or you can say initially whatever the compost or the cow dung what we have given, that is sufficient for the plant, but as and when the plant is growing, it needs more of other things, the nitrogen content or the other micronutrients. So what happens, the poop of the fish, it's really a good source of nitrogen and other nutrients which a plant needs to thrive well. So what happens, the plant is doing really well because it's getting a continuous supply of nitrogen. At the same time, the fishes are happy because they are able to eat the algae, the fresh algae, whatever is, it gets collected here near the roots at this part, whatever the algae is there. Similarly, at the back of the azolla, you can see these algae formations are there. So fishes love to eat that. So they multiply also, and they keep your water clean also, and at the same time both the fish and the plants, they are really happy. Now one benefit of having these on our terrace is suppose these kinds of plants like your ferns, bromeliads, orchids, all these plants which love too much of moisture. If these plants you keep near to your water plants, they grow really well because the moisture content around this pot, it will be more compared to other areas of your terrace. So they grow really well. Now many times people get confused between the lilies and the lotus. So now you have to see the leaves clearly. This is a circular leaf with a single slit here. If this kind of a cut is there, that means it's a lily. Okay. Now lotus resembles the same, but only thing is the slit won't be there. It will be a proper circular shape without any slit in that. So that's a clear indication of difference between lilies and lotus. Now many people they keep buying online seeds for the lotus plants, but it's very easy to source from any of the puja shops where we get all our puja samagri. So there you can source your this lotus seeds, and very easy to grow. You just have to, it comes like a beetle nut kind of a thing. You just have to rub it. I'll make a separate video for how to grow lotus from the seed, so it will be very much clear to you. So today we are talking about these things. Now what happens once we have set up the water plants, the fishes we have put, the plants are growing really well, and at the same time the fishes are also happy. Now what kind of a nutrition we have to keep adding it to it apart from the fish poop whatever the plant is getting. So once in 15 to 20 days or once in a month, just a handful of dry cow dung cake, whatever we get, upla what we say. So that if you add it to your water pond or water pot, so all the nutrition whatever is required for the good development of the fish at the same time of the plant is taken care. Now how about the repotting, like the other plants and all, we do the repotting. Yes, as I told you, these plants they multiply too much. Okay, same thing happens with these also. These also, if you see how many they have become. It was single when I had planted. Now so many of them they have multiplied. So when you see so much of so many they have multiplied at a gap of 6 to 8 months, we have to take out all the plants, and gradually we have to you can say you have to collect the water because the fishes are there in the water, and you cannot throw this water and immediately in a fresh water. If you put your fish, they might die because they want this kind of, they are accustomed to this kind of a water, so they'll be happy. And sometimes people have a doubt that during heavy rains and all, what happens, fishes might come out, or we have birds, pigeons or crows, so they might eat the fish. So first thing is, when heavy rains are there, most of the fishes, as soon as you touch the water, they go deep inside the pot. Secondly, same thing with the heavy pressure of water, again they, as soon as they feel little movement in the water, they go deep inside the water. So there are very less chances of fishes coming out of the pot. But yes, sometimes when heavy rains are there, few fishes might come out of the thing, but nothing to worry. That is their cycle, we cannot help in that. So that few things we have to take care is the pot should be kept in a well lighted area, means a direct sunlight these plants they need. The more the sunlight, the more blooms will be there if you are opting for floral plants. Else the foliage will be really good, but there won't be any blooms as such. So make sure whenever, and one more thing very much important is the water whatever is there in this, as and when you see the water level goes down, you have to keep refilling. Never change the entire water of the pot, otherwise the plants, at the same time the fishes will not be able to survive. So in this one more thing is there which we have to discuss, for which I'll make a separate video, that the uses of these water plants, the necessity of you having these water plants in our terrace garden, what all effects they or the role they have with our vegetable garden, or at the same time how to use the surplus what we have taken it out. Now these are the excess what I have done after the repotting. These are the excess, how to manage them, and what all the challenges we have to face, and how to take care of all such things. I'll make a separate video for that to have in a detailed discussion. Thank you.